And we're continuing from the previous video. The city of Rome itself, the geography is once again relevant. Rome lies on a crossroads. So there's a crossroads into the interior, a road into the interior along the Tiber, and there's also a road that is parallel to the coast that passes through Rome. And this is because there is an excellent ford of the Tiber right where Rome is founded, at the place that becomes the cattle market, the Forum Boarum. The other thing to notice about Rome is that primarily the primary locations are three large hills, the land between which is was originally marshland. And we can get a sense of when Rome starts to become an integrated entity by when these marshes are filled in. And the Forum Romanum, the great meeting place of Roman, of the Roman state, is built atop what had been the marshy land between the Capitoline and the Palatine hills. And the dating for this is roughly, it's during the second half of the 7th century. So the Romans themselves tell the story of how the city was founded in around 750, and it could be that there's important settlements on the Capitoline and the Palatine and the Aventine going back that far that might have been separate peoples, but the emergence of Rome as a single community and as a city-state probably dates to around 650, and this is where we would start to get our first kings. One other thing that's a useful background in talking about the Romans is the Roman names. The Roman names are somewhat different from what we've been encountering with other peoples that we've studied. In the East, amongst the Greeks and the Persians and the Egyptians and so forth, the names that people have, whether it's Gilgamesh or Pericles or Ramesses, tend to be sort of unique personal names. And then if any distinction is necessary, then you can say, Pericles, son of so-and-so, or Pericles of Athens, or something like this. But the name that people have is meant to be distinct and personal to identify them as an individual. Roman names are different. The primary name that people have, the nomen, is their family name. And this is much more important than any other part of their name. The most important part of the name that we're looking at here is the fact that this person belongs to the clan Iulius. And so everything else is secondary to that. The role that this person plays in society is in terms of the reputation that he can add to the clan Iulius and the standing that the clan Iulius has as a result of the actions of its members and the contributions of its members to society. The praenomen, the actual first name, is unimportant, and one of the signifiers of this is that there is only a handful of them that are shared amongst there's almost anybody that you meet in Roman society is going to be named either Gaius or Lucius or Marcus or Manius or Quintus or Postumus or whatever. There's a very small number of praenomen, of first names, to such an extent that it's usually just abbreviated. The C stands for Gaius. And this is further sort of formalized in a lot of the important families of the Romans, such that the first son is always named Quintus, and the second son is always named Aulus or something like this. So your first name is even less important. If you are encountering people in the forum or asking someone to speak in the Senate, you will refer to them by both names. You would say Gaius Iulius, You would meet them on the street, or would record their speech as Gaius Julius, never just Gaius on its own, because it's practically meaningless to refer to someone named Gaius. In formal records, affiliation would be recorded. In other words, this is the ancestry, and so what we see here is this is Gaius Julius, Gaius Fili, which is son of Gaius, and Gaius Natia, which is grandson of Gaius. And so this would be a means of identifying exactly which Gaius Julius you're talking about, because within a particular clan, there could be any number of people named Gaius Julius. There is a process of adding a sort of nickname, a cognomen. Cognomen is like, also name, and these nicknames are would be useful in theory as a means of identifying an individual, but in point of fact, the way that it plays out is that the cognomen is downplayed in a number of ways. First of all, a cognomen is often a diminutive, or some way of sort of making fun of the person involved. So, for example, Caesar means hairy, and this refers to somebody who, was a very, hairy individual, so much so that, it was sort of noteworthy and kind of ridiculous. Likewise, one of the most famous orators of Roman history, his cognomen was Cicero. Cicero means chickpea, but it originally referred to a wart that was on the name of the person that originally earned this cognomen. The reasoning here is that the Romans are deeply suspect of anybody that makes a name for himself, that engineers his reputation in such a way that he has greater influence than anyone else. And so nicknames tend to be disparaging, and not only that, but they carry forward to your sons, so that after the first recipient of the name, it becomes simply the name of a branch of the clan. And so Julius Caesar becomes, the name of a branch of the clan. It's no longer an identifier of an individual. The individual is submerged into the family at the earliest possible opportunity. There are, some rare exceptions to this, to the disparaging aspect of the cognomen. So, for example, if somebody is so, if there's enough gratitude for, a very famous defeat, then, somebody might get the name cognomen granted to them by the Senate, like Numidicus, Quintus Caecilius Metellus was given credit for defeating the Numidians, and so he was granted the cognomen Numidicus. This is done extremely rarely, and for the same reason, that they don't want to single out individuals for special kinds of glory. The Roman tendency, the Roman sense of their community is that the ruling class rules together. While they have a king, the king is an exception to this, but eventually the kings are ousted, partly because the idea of a king is incompatible with the Roman sense that the class of nobles, which is a very wide grouping of families, should rule together. And so this is the upshot of this, is that the Roman nobility is not made up of individuals, it's made up of families, and it is family that is the beginning and the end of every political story. What matters is, in the story of the Romans, is the way in which families relate to each other. One of the side effects of this is that sometimes families have trouble carrying on their names. When the families are important, one of the things that's going to happen as a result of this is that marriage becomes mergers of families. Marriages in communities where the noble families are extremely important lead to marriages being conducted not out of love, not out of affinity, but out of the need for one family to gain advantage by having a marriage connection with another. This often leads to marriages that that connect families but don't result in children because you're not particularly sexually interested in your partner. And so there's a great deal of of playing around with mistresses and out-of-wedlock children and this kind of thing amongst the Roman nobility. This can lead to families not being able to carry on their very important name. The solution to this is adoption. Adoption is conducted not at childhood, but as an adult after you've already proven yourself and you can show that you'll be a valuable member of the family that needs an heir. So, for example, we have Gaius Octavius here. Gaius Octavius is the great-nephew of Julius Caesar, and so he is adopted by Julius Caesar in his will because Julius Caesar himself doesn't have any male heirs. And so Julius Caesar adopts Gaius Octavius, and the pattern for this is you take on the name of the person adopting you, of the family adopting you, and then your old name becomes, a cognomen in the sort of adjectival form. So when Gaius Octavius is adopted by Gaius Julius Caesar, aka Julius Caesar, he becomes Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus, the man who was adopted by, and from this point onward, he is the perpetuator of the Julius family name. One other thing about names, we've been talking about the names of men amongst the Romans. You might be wondering how women are named. The answer to this is very simple. Women get one name, the family name. And so they get it in the feminine form, and this leads to a condition that might confuse outsiders or surprise people who hear about this for the first time. But if you have a daughter and your name is Gaius Julius, then your daughter's name is Julia. If you have another daughter, that daughter's name is also Julia. If you have another daughter, that daughter's name is also Julia. Informally, they might be distinguished by, elder Julia or first Julia or something like this, but ultimately, the men and the women, both their names are primarily the family name. The emphasis is on the family. On the female side, this is complete. There is nothing for the women in public society except in their role as part of a family. And so this carries over this idea of the public-private division between male and female. The division amongst the Romans is in some ways even sharper than in other societies we've seen. But hold off your judgment on whether the Roman women are more repressed as a result of this until we've had a chance to learn more. For now, that's that.